Good morning, it is Friday, June 7th. My second universe, number 41. Starting with a writing tip, looking at a critique and allowing a good critique to sink in and not just push away disgruntled the advice given. Gonna dip into upcoming game sessions this weekend, the virtual tabletop role-playing game that I facilitate, the collaborative storytelling session. Story time, got an idea for an improv lost dog story based on a childhood experience that I have had, and a fantastic riddle. Now, it's I'm proud of this riddle. I'm not sure if it's as good as I think it is, but I think it's pretty good. So I'm going to start with the riddle. Let y'all ponder. It is a marvel to experience a low-key ending. But if the old in the new offends rear views, thorny truths poison sutured wounds. Before that fever, beware drips causing convulsions. They foretell an onset of disco rage, not rock. So embrace new age music and drink Mountain Dew. Of course, I will include the full text in the video description for you to examine and be tricked, be inspired. Really wonder if anyone's going to guess without a hint, without a clue. These riddles are designed for you to have one guess with no clues. One guess only. Of course, in the testing, I'm fine to beta phase, give you clues and multiple guesses, but the intention, the design, is for you to have a one-shot success or failure. All right. Reading a critique. So I thought I had third chapter started decently, but I'm reading this critique of third chapter of Valkyrie of Desire. I have to say, the gentleman has some good points. So it starts off, I got a little poem as an epigraph. Life finds a way to survive as holy. All babies born suckle my teats freely, said by the character Agastache Bibas, which fits her character. She's a druidess. And I started off the chapter, first line, in the dark before dawn, comma, trees grow sparse as the terrain turns rocky. And right, this first line, the gentleman critiquing on Scribifile hits me. The dark before dawn, he says, bit of a cliche. I'm like, ooh. And then trees grow sparse as the terrain turns rocky. Now I'm thinking, trees grow sparse as the terrain turns rocky. Like, it sounds good, flows well. The dark before dawn. I'm lost in the purple language of it, the poetry. I'm just like, oh, that sounds great. And he hits me with the solid paragraph of, I'm starting out a bit confused here. What does the timing of dark before dawn have to do with the trees growing? If it's a point in a journey, then the time of day wouldn't matter. This makes the setting a bit confusing to kick off the chapter with. And then my next line, after talking about it being dawn and not being many trees and it's rocky, I mention orange flags hang from pikes, marking where the cobbled path steepens and widens. Thorny brush cut back and dirt raked aside. The dusty trail becomes a wagon-wide swath of flat stone, straight as an arrow. After orange flags, he hits me with, if this is a castle or city, then why start with the terrain? And then after straight as an arrow, he hits me with cliche again. I'm like, man, he's got some good points about this opening chapter. And then with the right before the next paragraph, he says, this might be a better start to the chapter, which is advice I've given to other people. Like, I just cut it back to where things are interesting. Because this is where I say, the final Yules to Lotus Hollow, Yules is a unit of measurement roughly equivalent to miles in my setting. The final Yules to Lotus Hollow pass as a rising sun disperses the morning mist. Hildur yawns and rubs her eyes, stepping between broken pillars of blue speckled granite. The ruins of Titans, giants that came from the sea to rule the previous age, now the foundation for the settlements of smaller races. And he hits me with needs a where between previous age and now. It's like, I see, yeah, okay. And then at the very end of the paragraph, he says, why give this exposition now? Is it vitally important? It seems like a random aside. And then later on, a few paragraphs down, he hits me with, this is a lot of description starting out the chapter with minimal action, beyond a yawn. And he says a little bit more, but I'm like, wow, he's so right. All I have is the main character yawning and rubbing her eyes and a whole bunch of description. Shit. Because it's a fantasy setting, so I want to like paint it out. Third chapter in, I don't want to just pile on characters moving, because I want people to envision my fiction. So it's going to be tough. It's going to be tough, but I got to take his advice. Maybe I can work in the description a little bit later. Got to have the character doing more than yawning. He's right, but I'm not sure quite how to fix it at the moment. I'm going to have to come back to this. Maybe we're Father's Day weekend. I got a nice long weekend. But, yeah, it can be tough to take criticism. Especially good criticism. Criticism you have to acknowledge, and yeah, so I'll contemplate that. Don't want to take too much time with it. That's the other thing, is you don't want it to cripple you. Let it kind of, so where it percolate, come back to it later. Let it sort of be an unanswered question. All right. Distracting from internal conflicts or allowing things to work themselves out. Upcoming game session. So my players' characters in the virtual tabletop role-playing game that I facilitate, they are finding out some dark secrets about each other. Now, they've been playing for going on 2 years now as a group. Some of them have been playing longer as players, but these characters have been interacting, and in game time, once, I think about a season, a little more than a season. In player time, a couple of years anyway. They've got some secrets they've uncovered that has made things uncomfortable, has caused some potential conflicts, potential actual fights. I foresee potential fights. But I mean, fights are still straightforward. You're having dice roll. You're looking at stats and abilities. It's fairly straightforward and defined. I'm squirming in my seat as I listen to my players role play their characters so well. It's like an uncomfortable, caught in the act. It's almost like a soap opera that you're sucked in, and you see a character discover another character has committed adultery or something, some kind of like betrayal, and you're like, oh no, what's gonna happen next? I don't want to see. I want to close my eyes. So the right decision is to allow things to work themselves out. But I kind of want to throw a big distraction in. We're like, no, you guys can just leave it alone. It's okay. Everything's gonna be okay. It's like mommy and daddy are breaking up, but it's just such an odd dynamic, because I'm like the parental, godlike DM, but I feel a passenger in this car ride in the back seat as I struggle over the steering wheel. And maybe I'm overstating things, but I will prepare as best I can. Maybe have a distraction in my back pocket. We'll see what happens. All right. So, story time. I am my son's age, 9 years old again, in a time before the internet, before phones in our hands, when we walked outside, we walked alone, and if we had an animal by our side, a loyal dog who would follow without a leash, it was our only link, our only companion, our best friend. Big tongue, ready to lick, ears perking up, ready for any kind of conflict, to defend, to play, to be an extension of your childhood. My dog, Ipo, meaning sweetheart in Hawaiian, and Akita, she is a loyal, honorable animal. And she is afraid of thunder. She's afraid of thunder like it's a gunshot. And when it happens, when a storm comes, it's always a danger she will disappear. So, from Hawaii to the mainland, from 8 until 9, 8 years old until 9 years old, I transitioned from an island kingdom, a state but a kingdom, to this Pennsylvanian suburb with thunderstorms. And my dog, she ran away. She escaped and ran for fear of that thunder and lightning, that roar, shaking her heart that had been weakened by heartworms, but was still so large. Scared in an unfamiliar land, wandering, sense all confused. Now that the storm had passed, how lost was she? How far had she gone? I walked alone. No phone. No posters on telephone poles. No friends. I was new in this land too, and I walked flat. No hills to see. Flat. One street like the next. Flat. Houses. Copies of each other. Getting turned around. What hope? What hope does my dog, Ipo, her name meaning sweetheart, her full name meaning brave little sweetheart, but I can't remember the Hawaiian for her full name. She's just Ipo, and I would call out in a way that I haven't been able to do since puberty, a kind of yell, almost inhuman stretching of her name into a kind of yodel, and I would let it echo, and tears marking my face, like I had been out in the rain, like I had been doing this all night instead of waking after a good rest to find her gone and going out before breakfast. And adults would see me and they would wonder and feel sorry for me, but it was embarrassing if I cared. And I came home defeated. I spent all this time, hours, and I was hungry and I was defeated. I told myself I needed to check in, but I knew I was giving up. And I was trying to prepare myself for the loss of my best friend, the only friend I had brought to the mainland. But there she was. She'd found her own way back. I I was happy, even though I was crying. And I'm sorry that I didn't keep trying. All right, that's 15 minutes in. Holy moly, it's a long one. Hope you have some good guesses for the riddle. It's a marvel to experience the low-key ending. But if the old and the new offends rear views, Thorny truths poison sutured wounds. Before that fever, beware drips causing convulsions. They foretell an onset of disco rage, not rock. So embrace new age music and drink Mountain Dew. Yeah.